Okay, so let's start. We are going over one of the past exams, and I will try to do one, two questions from each topic. So with branding, you are gonna be fine. Honestly, you just need 60 points, and she usually gives like a lot of extra questions to do from. And let's start with the first question. So we basically need to write a complete formal definition of a context-free grammar. Yeah, and what you need to make sure with a running is always write then G is equal to B sigma P S. And then we have the sigma is equal to, the sigma is actually which letters we are using. So here we are using A, B, C, and G. And then you need the V, but the V you complete it as we go. But first we need to start with S. So I can see here that I have the two or. So I will name this A, this B, and this C. So if I start with S, I will get A or B or C. And at the same time, try to complete this A, B, and C. So in A, I start with a G, and then I need a new letter to, because there is an A star here, which is 0 or more A's. So we need a new letter for that, and I will name it D. Then I have B, and then we are gonna use a new letter for this section here. So if you break it down like as much as you can, it's like in which way you want to do it. I'm usually using kind of all the letters here. So I will get this as an E. And then I have G, D, B, E. Then I'm moving on with the B. And I see that there is a clean star here. So for me, I will use another letter. So I have F and C. And then we are gonna solve for A. And here I see that I have A or G, new clean star for A star, but we can use the D, the variable here, because we see there is an A star here and one A star here. So you can use the same letter for that since we are gonna use it for the same thing. So I have D and C, or I get a G, B. And everything you can see that it's 0 or more. So at the end, I need to insert the lambda, which for me, the lambda means 0 or more. Yeah, she said not to use C because it might be confused with the capital letter. I'm gonna use it for this exercise, but for the first one. But yeah, try to avoid using the C because small c and big C is the same. But yeah, try to avoid that with a brand. Then during A, I need to do D actually. So I'm using the A, capital D, because I'm looking for more, or I will use lambda. And then we have the E. And as I can see, E is B or C, A, CAC. And because I have the clean star here, I have to use, 1 second. Either I'm going back again or lambda. And I need to put actually EE lambda. So then for F, I will get A and G, F, because it's the clean star, or it can be 0, so I will use the lambda again. And lastly, I have the C, but in C, I'm using the D here for this part. And then for the next part, I actually am done with the exercise. So right now I use A and B, C, D, E, and F, and close it. Please make sure that you use this part to write this part here. Do not forget it because she will lose you points because of that. And then I just need to draw the state diagram. So the state diagram, I need a start state, which is this arrow with a circle. And then I'm using 2, 3, or. So I will have 3 arrows. Yeah, you're correct. I have 3. So I will have 3 arrows, 1 for A, 1 for B, and 1 for C. So with my A, I can see that I start with G, and then I go to A. So it can be written like that. And then I'm using it to go to B. So this state will be in B. And then again, I have the clean star there. So make sure to use an L lambda when you see something like that, or when you are changing. And I can have either C, A, C, or you can have MB. And then I'm gonna finish with lambda again. Then I will go to my B site, and I can have A, G, and then I'm moving with C. As you can see, A and G, it can be 0 or more, so that's why we do this technique here. So you can use less space, I guess. And then I need to have a C, and then I will be done with that section now. And then again, I'm using lambda. And lastly, and here is lambda. And then for a C, I have A or G or AC or GB. So I can either have, wait, I can either have, where did I stack? 1 second. I can have A, or I can have G, or I can have A star. But for this, I will use a new state. Pardon, sorry. So we have A or G, and then or A star. Daniel, can you confirm if I can write it like that, please? But no. It's A or G. Yeah, actually, one arrow here will be fine. And then I will get, I can have A with C here. And then I have G and B. So B, B goes here, but everything will be, because there is a clean start here for everything, I will use one lambda here. And then I have to do another one arrow that goes back to my original. And this is another lambda. So everything comes to this position here, which is my final state. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. We are gonna do another one example of that.
I have a question. For part A, does putting the lambda in the beginning or in the end, does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter where you put it. It's the same thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's move on with the third exercise. So again, I see that this whole thing starts with my C, but I still need to write my G is equal to V sigma P and S. Make sure to always write it. My sigma is, I'm using the letters A, B, C, and G. And then for V, we complete it as we go. But first, I will have a for S for sure. Then I need to name the states here. I can use this as an B, as an A. I can use this B and B. So first I have the S, which starts with a C. So as you can see, the first letter will always be a C, no matter what. And then I have A, B, and D. I didn't use them breaks, these ones, because there is it's not an or. We don't see something like that in between. So we don't use it because, yeah. So then on my A, I can have G and B, A, or lambda because of the clean star again. For my B, if I break it down, I can use this as an E and this as an F. Again, it's like whatever you find more convenient. So I will use E or F or beam B or L. Beam B, it means that it's one or more. The lambda means 0. And then I have my E, which can be in GC or beam G. And because again, it's a 0 or more, I have the E and lambda. Then I have my F, which is A or C. And I'm done actually with the MB here. And I'm left to write the MB part. So my D, it can be either G, and I will name a new number for the A star there. And I will use G. So it can be G small letter, G capital letter, or B. Or I can either have G, H. And then for my G, I will get the A, which is A, G, or lambda. Or you can write it like that. A, G, G, lambda. It's the same thing. These two are the same. And for the H, I will get in G or AC, but I can get more, or I can get 0. So this is my final answer. And so far I used A, B, C. I didn't use C. A, B, D, E, F, G, and H. And then I need to draw the transition state. So my starting state is that. And I always have a C. And then I can get into the state that I have G, G, and B. And then I do lambda. And then I can have this again. And because I see an OR state there, lambda, I can have G or C, or B and G. And then as you can see from this part here, I get an A or B. And everything is a clean F. Yeah, sorry, it should be A or B. Thank you, Oliver. And then because for this state, I see the clean star, I need to have a lambda because I can skip this. I can skip this part here, the whole part or not. So I need it to look like that. And for my deep part here, as I have it, I'm gonna make this smaller. question about B. For B, EF, B, lambda, should it be? No, because as you can see, then B can be 0 or more. So what my B does is 0 or more. And B is like the more part, and the lambda is the 0 part. And it's, yeah, you're correct. Yeah. There is there is no door between them, so it's a concatenation. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me. And then continuing with this part here, I can either have G, A, clean star, or I can have B, and I'm done with the first part. And then I'm moving with writing my H. So this can be lambda, and I can have as many G's because of the clean star there, or I can get A, C. And then I'm done with the example here and use the L. I usually, when I start and when I end the drawing, I use L, but here, because I'm starting anyway with C, I just went immediately to C. Let's move on to the next part. I will start doing that. So here you need to write the context-free grammar, but first you need to group together the letters, the same letters. So the I will be connected with my I here. The K is here. And the N is alone. There we don't see any N's together. Then my lambda is connected with this one here. I have the 2M, and then I have this part only. And then the J with the J. So the letters here must be grouped together. Otherwise, if I had something like 2AI plus 1, and for example, I have MB3L here plus 1, and then I can get like 10 plus 2 and C4L. This cannot happen. If you have this part here, that there is an interaction, an intersection, it's wrong. But usually that's for the second exam from what I remember. I'm not sure, but you will see it more often on the second exam than the first exam. So because we need to write the context-free grammar, I need again my G. Please don't forget it because you will lose points on the exam for that. Then I have sigma, and I'm using the letters A, B, C, and G. And then I have my V, and I'm gonna start with S. So I have first, if we are going with the exterior, I will name this A, this part B, and this C. So basically my S will be A, B, and because we are avoiding writing C's, I will go directly to D. A, B, and D. And for this, it's kind of like going from the outside inside. So for A, I will see that I'm using this part is involved within. So I will use two A's because of this here, 2I. And because this part is in the middle of everything, I will have this B, B, B. And once you wrote the I's, like the how many letters, on my or, we will use this part here, the second part, with this, which is mixed inside. So I will get something like, I only have one A left. And then I have E, F, and I end with two B's, B and B. I use the E, F because here it's my E and this part is my F. So you are basically using them here. Then I'm gonna write my E. And again, I see that I have 2K C to C to the power of 2K. So I will use only two C's. And then I can have the E. And then I have three A's. 1, 2, and 3. Or I can have one C. And I get it from this part here. Then I move on with my F. And I see that for my F, I only have one G. So it's gonna be GF because it's G to the power of N. And then I need my OR to add the one that is considered in this part here. And I have G. Then I move on with my B. And for my B, sorry for that. For my B, everything is going inside. There is nothing next to each other. So I will get, I only see that I have only one G, B, and I'm mending with three A's. A. And my or statement will be the four G's that I started with. And then I need new letter because I have this part here. It's inside my B. And I use the MVC in the EF. Can name it a capital G. And then I have 1A. Then we are moving on with the G, which is this part, this section over here. And I will see that I have two C's first. Then I'm using the capital G because we are still inside the G. And then I have only one G. And for my S or state, I need to move on with this part here. I can have three C's. I have a new letter, H. And then I get G and G. And my H, which is the last part of this, I can have B, B, and H, or I can only have one B. And then we are moving on with our D. And I see that I can have only one C, D, C, small letter C, D, and then I have three Gs. And because it's my last thing, I have only C and two Gs. You are not moving to any state. There is nothing next to it. There is nothing between this part. So we are gonna end with that. And I use the letters A, B, D, E, F, G, and H. Let's do another one exercise of that. So we are grouping them together by the letters here. So my I will go with my I. I can see that the I is here. And then I have the J's with the J's. And then we go internally inside. Let's name A and B. Internally inside A, I need to connect the K with the K, the M with the M, and then I will have this part here, the L with the L, and then this one. Yeah. So again, you need to write the context-free grammar. Don't forget to use NG, V, sigma, P, S, sigma. I'm using the letters again, A, B, C, and G. And then I have my V, which we are gonna write it at the end once we know which letters we use. So my S will start with A and B. And then I go directly to A. And I see that I have two A's here. I can loop back to it. And then I'm ending with three I's. So I will get three B's. I have my or state. And I have one A. I need a new letter because we are gonna move on with this line here inside of A. And I have one B. Then I go to the state D, and I have three another states there. But first, you need to write them B from here, D, three G's, and then the OR. I see that I have three B's again. B, B. And I will name this E, F, G. E, F, and G. And I'm ending with two G's coming from part here. Let's analyze our E now. I will write it with a different color so you can differentiate them. So for E, I see that I can start with two C's. Then I need again my E and one G, or I can have C's, three C's. And because there is nothing internally of E, I'm not gonna use any letter between them. I'm just gonna end it. So I have three C's and two G's. Then I move on with my F state. And I see that it's just 1A, or I can get again 1A. Then I move on with my G state. So I will have two B's for start. Again, it can loop back to G and A and three A's. Or EFG, I go to the H. Or I can have two B's again. Oh wait, it's one B here. Is it one B? Yeah, it's one B and three A's. And then I can have two B's, the state H, and another one A. And my state H will be look like I have two C's, H, or I will end it because there is nothing between H or anything. So it will end with three C's. Then I will start analyzing my B. So inside of B, I have one C, B, and then I get three G's. This is a small letter C. And it's my last state as well. So I will get C, 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 and one G. Complete the V part here. So I used A, B, D, E, F, G, and I, H. Does anyone have any question about that? So you basically group the same letters that you see first here on the power. Do not use these letters, it's wrong. Use the same letters that you see on the power to group them together. So we are moving on. Do you want me to solve another one question of that? If you want, write in the chat, or we can move on with a different exercise. Okay, so we are gonna solve another one. Question, let's go to 9. Let's start by grouping the powers again, the same letter power. So my I, oh, it's gonna be my last here. And then I need to group the J's together. So I will get this part. Then I need the K together, my lambda, my M, P is gonna be alone, and I have the N, which is still alone. So I will start by naming the whole thing A then. G V sigma P S. Sigma is equal to A, B, C, and G. And my view will look like S for now. And I start by writing the context-free grammar. I see that my S state will start with two A's, S, and then I have G, G, and G that comes from the power of 3 here. Or I will move in with my, actually this is the state S. Or I can get a 3 A's. Then I can move to my state A. And I get only one G. So this part is gonna be my A for now. So moving on to A, I see that that's a power of 3 and that's a power of 1. So I have 3 B's. I can either have more, so that's why I'm going to A again, and 1 C, or I can get 2 B's. It's coming from this part, the constant part there. And inside of that, inside of A, I see that I can do this B, D. So I will have B and D, but I still need to end it with 3 C's. And the C's came from the constant part of that. So inside of B now, I see that my B starts from here and it ends here. So the power is C to the power of 2K. So I will have 2 C's. I can either go have more or I can get 3 A's. And then I can have zeros because there is nothing like plus something there. So I can name again these variables F and G. I will either have FG, but you still need to end with 4 A's. A, and A. Moving on with my F, then I can have 1G. Again, I can have more. That's why I'm going back to F. And then I have 3 A's. Or there is nothing in between F, so I'm gonna end it. So I need to use 4 G's and 3 A's. And no A's actually, because there is no constant like +1 or something there. So I did the F. I'm moving on with the G part. So I can get 2 C's. I can have more, and then I can finish with 1 G. And inside of G, I see that I have another one connection. So I will name it H. C, H, because I'm moving on with the next state. Or I can have 3 G's. And on my H, I see that's the power, it's B to the power of 3P. So I can have 3 B's. Or I can get like 1 B. 3 B's or more. Or 1 B. So this is my final answer. Don't forget to go back here and just write the letters you use, A, B, F, G, and H. And I'm basically done with that part. So try to going from the outside inside, and that's how you should read it. And then I can move on with a different example. Let's start with the Gödel number. Write a sequence of natural numbers whose Gödel number is divisible by 102 and 24, but not divisible by 95. Prove that your construction is correct. So first I need to write, to start dividing 102. And in order to write the Gödel, the sequence of natural number whose Gödel numbers, you will have something like that and some numbers in between. But in order to prove, I need to start dividing by 2, 3, 5, 7, 11 by the prime number, I think. Yeah. So 102 is divisible by 2, so I can have 2. And 102 divided by 2, it's 51. But I can analyze it more. I can divide 51 by 3. So 2 times 3 times 17, because 51 divided by 3 is 17. I cannot divide by 2. I will get decimals and I don't want that. And that's my answer for 102, because then I think it's 17. Then I need to prove for 24. And again, I can divide 24 by 2, so I will get 2 times 12. Then I can see that I can divide by 2 again. So 2 times 2 times 6. And then I can divide 6 again by 2. So I will get 2 times 2 times 2, 3. And my final answer will be 2 to the power of 3 times 3. 95, I can see that it can be divisible by 5 only, because it can be divided by 2. It cannot be divided by 3. So my next option is 5. And I can see that 95 is divided by 5. So 95 divided by 5 is 5 times 19. But 19, I cannot divide by 2. I cannot divide by 3, 5, 7. I cannot divide them. So that's why when I write the Gödel number, I will not go up to 5. So when I go from this, so I can see that I will either have three twos. But when I go from this part there, we always add 1 to the power to find the real number. So if we had something like 1, 0, 0, I will always add 1 to the power. So it's 1 plus 1. Then it's 3, 1 times and 5, 1. So here I can see that I need to have 3 twos to be divisible by 24. So the minimum twos that I have is 3. But because I'm gonna write in the form of this, I will deduct 1 from the power. So I will write 2. Then I need to have 3s. And I only need 1 3 for both of those. So it will be 0. And then I can have 0, 0. This is 2, this is 3, 5, 7, 11. 11, and then it's 17. I will not go up to 95 because I don't want it to be indivisible by 95. So I will start once I reach 1 before. So my final answer for my sequence is this part here. And we also proved that it can be divisible by 102 and it can be divisible by 24, but it cannot be indivisible by 95. Because as I said, this is my number 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and 17. Yes, we use the 5 for here, but I didn't go up to the state of 19. I stopped at 17. So this sequence cannot divide 95. Yeah, probably I do. 13. So you can see that as 13. Yeah. It's not like we list it, but when we prove that it cannot be divisible by 95, in order to be divisible by 25, I need to have 5 times 19. But I still need to write all my Gödel numbers. I use my 5, yes, but I didn't reach the state of 19. So this sequence, as you can see, it cannot divide 95, although we use 1, 5. Do you get it?
I have a question.
Yeah.
For the Godel, we used 2 to the power 3 times 3. What happened to the Godel number of 102? We don't use that, or
1 is not a prime number. What
no?
do you
For
mean?
102, we got the Godel of 2, 3, and 17. Then for 24, we got 2 to the power 3 times 3. And then for the final answer, we only got 200. Isn't it like 2 to the 4? We add them both, or
No, 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 no. So the minimum numbers of tools I can use is 3, but the maximum minimum numbers of ones I can use is 1, because it's 3 to the power of 1, and here is 3 to the power of 1. So I don't really need to add them. Is that what you mean?
yeah, thank you.
Because I will divide 24 first, and then I can divide 102. It's not like I'm dividing them at the same time. Yeah, and by the 2, I mean 2 to the power of 3. So because I always add 1 to the power. So it's gonna 2 plus 1. Yeah, you're correct. So I probably need another 1 0 here for 17 to get the right answer. Thank you for stating that out.
So I have a question. If the for the 102 that you did, if the 3 had a power of 2, would we have put 1 for 3 inside of the goal number?
Yeah, if I had
So
3 to the power of 2, I will have, let's say I have 2 to the power of 3. I will have 3 to 1.
okay, I see. So
Because,
you're taking both numbers together and then looking at the higher numbers that you have, the best outcome, and then you put those numbers in the goal number.
yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Any other questions? Yeah, for that part, you need to explain why 102 and 24 is divided, but it cannot divide it by 95. I usually say that you can write like, hence this Gödel number contains the 7th prime, which is my number 17, because we went up to the state 17. It can divide 102 and 24, but because I didn't use the 8th prime, which is my number 19, it cannot be indivisible by 95. Honestly, in the exam, when I was doing it, I just wrote something more simpler, and it was still acceptable. Yeah, if you saw Joe's, thank you, Joe. But remember to give also the sequence because it's asking for it. We can move on with the next part, with another one example here. So I will start dividing. I have 56, 57, and 69. Let's break it down as much as we can. So I can divide 56 by 2. So 56 divided by 2 is 28. So 2 times 28. But I can analyze it more. I can still divide 28 by 2, and I get 2 times 14. My 14 will still be divisible by 2, so I use 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. And I can stop here because 7 is one of my prime numbers. So I will have 2 to the power of 3 times 7. Then my 57 is not divisible by 2, but it can be divisible by 3. So I will have 3 times 19. 3 is a prime number, 19 is a prime number. I cannot analyze 19 more, so I will leave it as is. And then I have the 69. And I can divide it by 3. So 69 divided by 3 is 23. 23 cannot be divisible by any prime number because it's a prime number and it only can be divided by itself. So we leave it like that. So I need the sequence to divide 56 and 57, but it cannot be divisible by 69. So does anyone want to give me the answer before I write it down? Remember, when you give the sequence, you deduct 1 from the power. Yeah, Joe is right. So the answer, I will need to use 3 2's at least. So I will have 2. Then for 3, I only need 1 3. And because it's to the power of 1, I deduct 1 from the power and I have 0. I can have 5. You have to, we have to go up to the point of 19. So for the rest, I have 2, 3, 5, 7. I only have 1 7 here. So if I deduct 1 from the power is 0. Then I have my 11, my 17, and then the 19. 7, 11, 13, and 19. And because my 19 is gonna be to the power of 1, if I deduct 1 from the power is 0. And here is when I have to stop, because if I add another 0 at the end, my sequence will be divisible by 69. But in the question, it says it cannot be divisible by 69. So I get, did I? Oh my God, 17, and this is 19. Yeah. Yep. So then you need to write an explanation. Hence, this Gödel number contains the 8th prime, which is my number 19. It can be indivisible. It can divide 56 and 57. But because the 9th prime ninth prime is not included. And my ninth prime is 23, is not included. It cannot divide 69. Yeah, if it wanted to be divisible by 56 and 69, but not 57, it's impossible because you need to write all the prime numbers up to the point that you have to. So I will pass through 19 and I cannot leave it empty. I need to use a 0 there. So at some point I will use that 19. So yeah, it's impossible. But usually when Obrenic writes the exams, you don't get you get this to solve it, to prove it. Do you want me to do another one example before we move on? If someone wants to explain me again, please let me know. I can go over another one example. We still have like 40 minutes, 50. Okay, let's do 68, 68, 63, and 76. So I can divide 68 by 2. So 68 divided by 2 is 34. I can divide 34 by 2 again. So 2 times 2 times 17. And I can finish it here. So I will end up with 2 squared times 17. And then I have 63, which I cannot divide by 2, but my next option is 3, which 63 divided by 3 is 21. So 3 times 21. And I can still divide 21 by 3 again. So I will get something like 3 times 3 times 7. And I leave it there because 7 can only be divided by itself. So I have 3 squared times 7. And I move on with 56. I can divide 56 by 2. So 56 divided by 2 is 38. 38, it can be divided more by 2. So 2 times 2 times 19. 19 is my last prime number, so I can leave it as it is, and I have 2 squared times 19. So my sequence will go up to 17. If we include 19, then it will be divisible by 76, but the question says not by 76. So when I write my sequence here, I see that the maximum numbers of 2's, my maximum numbers of 2's is gonna be 2. So I deduct 1 by the power. So I will get 1. Then for my 3, I see that I need 2 at least. So if I deduct 1 by the power, I still have 1. And then I have 0 for 5, 7, 11, 13, and 17. 17 is to the power of 1. I want to include it, so I deduct 1 by the power. So I will end the sequence there. I'm not going into this the prime number 19, because if I use it, it will be divided by 76. So my sequence will look like that. And then the explanation that you will give is basically the same as here. It's the same thing over and over again. Are we okay with that? Do you want me to write down the explanation, or do you have it from previous examples? Okay, and we'll move on with the next exercise. Let's go to this. Okay, I will write one more explanation. So this Gödel number contains the seventh prime number, 17, or you can write 17. I mean, you don't have to write this section here. You can immediately write 17, but not the eighth prime, which is 19. And which implies that the length of the sequence is exactly 7. And I can see that because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. My length is 7. So yeah, you can end it here, or you can say that 68 and 63 are divided. It can be divided because I go up to the 7th prime, but 76, it cannot be divided. It can be divided because I'm not using the 8th prime. And honestly, just if you find to write something else like smaller, which is close to this answer, it's still fine. I remember when I was doing the exam, I wrote something much less simple and I still got full points. And you remember to start with the exercises that you can do the more easy to get as many points as you can, because if you get 60 and above, if you get 60 points, it's like you get 100. Let's go on to question number 10. 16. Let L1 be the best set of exactly those strings over the alphabet A, B, C, and G that begins and ends with one of the following two letters, A and G. So if it begins only, it has to begin with A and G and not with any other A, with B or C. So if it begins with A or G, I need to use A or G. Then I can have whatever letter I want to use from A, B, C, and G. And I can have 0 or more. it has to end as well with A and G, or I can either have A or G. So if I have only A, it's still valid because it starts and ends with an A. Or if I have only G, it starts and ends only with G. So I need to use this part here. I need to write this part here. Again, it starts and ends with an A or G, and in between, I can have whatever I want. Moving on, let L2 be the set of exactly those strings over the alphabet A, B, C, and G that begins with C, but contain exactly two Gs. So first of all, I need to start with C. In between of that, I can have A, B, C, or G, or I can have 0. Or I can have A or G. But no, wait, I'm sorry for that. It starts with C. In between, I can have A or B or C, 0 or more. Then I need to have a G for sure. Then I can have A or B or C. I'm not using the G here because if I use it, I will get more than two Gs. But I only need exactly two. If I use that, I might end up getting like three Gs instead of two. So I have a clean start. And then again, I need to have a G. And after that, I can still have whatever I want, if I want. So I will explain one more time this part here. It starts with a C. It contains exactly two Gs. If you use the Gs inside any of these parentheses, it will be wrong because you might end up with more than two Gs, and I only need exactly two Gs. Then I have let L3 be the set of exactly those strings over the alphabet A, B, C, and G, where the number of Cs is not divisible by 3. It's not divisible by 3. So I either have 4 Cs and more. Yeah. So I need to start with A, B, and G. When it's something like you need to have exactly two Gs or like is not divisible by 3, that letter is gonna be alone on the outside. That's why I'm not using it in the parentheses, just to make sure that I'm not gonna get anything less or anything more. And because it cannot be divisible by 3, then I need to have 4 and above. Or 1 or 2. Yeah. So first I need C, A or B or G again. C, A or B or G. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. I need another one here. A. So this is a part of 3, but I can have 0. Because then when I open it, I can have A or B or G. This guarantees that if it's used, I will still have 4 C's if I'm using the parentheses here. Because remember, you have the option of 1C, 2C, and 4 plus C's. So this part gives us the very first 3 C's, and then we are gonna use it to find the 1 and 2 C's. So for sure, I will have 1C, and then again, I can have A, B, G, and I can have another 1C, which is the case of 2, or I can have 0. And then I can use again A, B, or G, and clean star. Let me know if you want me to explain it again. So this part here, the very first part guarantees that I will have 0, 3 C's. But because anyway, I need to go to this part here, I will have 1C, 1C for sure, or I can get 2 C's. And if I use that, I will have 4 or more. Moving on with L4. Yeah, it's concatenated. I just didn't have space to write it here. Because I still need to have 1 or 2 C's before doing that. So you could actually can start from this part, from the second part, and concatenate with the first part. It's the same, like it's as you read it. So it's basically 0 because I added the clean star here. Wait. I use the clean star for this parenthesis, so that's my 0 part. Or it can have 3 C's because my C's here do not have clean star. So if I'm about to use the first part, if I use it, I will for sure get 3 C's. Could you have also written it also as A, B, G? No, because Andrew, what you said, I will only have 2 C's. But the question is not divisible by 3. So if it's not divisible by 3, I still can have 1 C, or I can have 2 C's, or I can have 4 and more C's. Your whatever you said, it's only for 2 C's. If the question was like, it's divisible by 3. C is divisible by 3. Yeah, I can explain the second line. So the second line, it's basically I'm writing it for the 1 or 2. So I can either have 1 C, and that's why I can start with A and B or G, whatever. It's 0. That you can start and end with whatever you want. But I still need to have 1 C. Or when I go here, I can have another 1 C, which makes it 2. But because I don't want to use a clean star here, because if I use a clean star, if I use like something like C and clean star, it means 0 or more. But we already said that this line here is gonna be on only 1 or 2. That's why I'm using the lambda, and I'm not using any clean star. So if I use another 1C, I have 2, or if I use to go with the lambda, I have another 1. Yeah, so it's basically 3n plus 1 or 3n plus 2. Yeah. I'm moving on with the next one. Did you get it, Andrew? Oliver? Yeah. Let L4 be the set of exactly those strings over the alphabet A, B, C, and G, where every G is either preceded or followed by another G. So from my point of view, if you have a G, it's preceded by another G. So you can either have A or B. I'm not using any G, so it's fine. Or you can have C. But when it comes to G, G is preceded by another G, so G and G. But I can have more G's here. So that's why I'm gonna use another one G and clean star. Because if I want to use that, I will still see that my G's is preceded by another G. Or at the same time, you can have nothing. That's why I will use a clean star there. Again, I can have A or B or C. It's not in G, so I can still get those letters. Do not get confused when you see in G, say they're preceded or followed by another G. You can still have A and B or C. But once you see that I need to use G, my G has to be preceded by another G. But I can get more Gs. I can get 3, I can get 4 Gs, but they have to be preceded by another G. So that's my answer to D. And then I will move on with the E. Let L5 be the set of exactly those strings over the alphabet A, B, C, G, whose length is no less than 4, but the first symbol is different from the fourth symbol. So if the length is no less than 4, my length should be 4 plus. So if I start with A, in between I can have A or B or C or G. I'm not using the clean start yet because I need to have 4. The length should be 4 and more. Then I can add another letter and have A or B or C or G. So right now my length is 3. But the first symbol is different from the fourth symbol. So since this part here is gonna be my fourth symbol, I cannot have A. So I can have either B or C or G. So now like this, if I leave it like this, my length is 4. But because I want more than 4, I can have A or B or C or G. and clean star. When I add that, it means that it's 4 and more. Again, my fourth symbol, this is my fourth symbol, is not the same as my first symbol. But you can either start with B, so you need an OR, union. So if I start with B, again, I have A or B or C or G. This is length 2. A or B or C or G, this is length 3. And my fourth symbol cannot be the same as my first symbol, so I cannot use B as my fourth symbol. So I either have A or C or G. This is length 4, but because I can have more than 4, I will use A or B or C or G, clean star. Then again, I have the union. Because I can either start with C, and then it's the same thing all over again. This is length 2. This is length 3. And my fourth symbol cannot be the same as the first symbol. So I cannot have C. So I can either have A or B or G. And this is length 4. And now I'm going for the 4 or more. Clean star. And lastly, I can start with the letter G. So again, I do the same. This is length 3, and on my fourth symbol, I cannot start with, I cannot have my fourth symbol as G, so I can either have A or B or C. And then for the fourth or more part, I can have something like C or G, clean star. This is my final answer on that. If you want me to explain it again, let me know. Otherwise, we can move on. We only have 15 minutes left.
Wait, so you have to put all of the options, or you could just put one, like A?
No, you have to write all the options. Otherwise, you will get like partial credits. You need to write all the options. I can either start with A or B or C or G.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
If she was more specific, like it starts with an A and it's no less than 4, but the first symbol is different from the first symbol. So yeah, that will be only one from the cases. But because she's not specific, you have to write down all the options. Otherwise, you will get partial credits.
Okay, thank you.
Let's move on to 17. Let L1 be the set of exactly those strings over the alphabet A, B, C, and G that begins and ends with the substring B. So if it begins and ends with the substring B, I can either have B and B. As you can see, it starts and ends with B and B. Or I can have B and B and B. It begins with B and B and it ends with B and B. Or I can have B and B, and between I can use A or B or C or G or nothing, but I have to end with B and B. This is my answer for A. Now let L2 be the set of exactly those strings over the alphabet A, B, C, and G that begins with G but contains no more than 3 Gs. So the number of Gs is 3 less. 3 and less. Like 3 and less, yeah. So because I need to start with the letter G, I already use my first G. And then I can have either A or B or C. Don't use G because then I can have either G or L, which makes it 2 Gs or again only 1 G. And after that, I can still have A or B or C, clean star if I want to. And then again, I can have G or nothing. And I can have after that whatever I want or nothing, so G. So I already have 1. If I use another G, I have 2. If I use another G, I have 3. But at the same time, because it's 3 or less, that's why I put the lambda here. Because I have 1 for sure, but then I can have 0 for this part, but I can still get like another 1 G, which makes it 2 Gs. Do you understand it? So I will move on with the C. Let L3 be the set of exactly those strings over the alphabet A and B, C, and G, where the number of A's plus the number of G's is odd. So if I have an odd number, I can either have, sorry, 1, 3, 5, 7. So if I add the A's plus the number of G's is odd. If I add the A's and then G's, should be not 1 for sure. 3, 5, or 7, blah, blah, blah. So I start by writing, I can have B or C, as many as I want, but then I can get an A or G, which makes it 1 for now. And then again B or C, which again, it's only 1 A or 1 G here. Then I can have 2. Sorry, not clean star. And then again B or C. For this part is 2. I can wait. Yeah, 1 is included actually. That's why. So if I have 2, it's not an odd number, it's an even number. So to make it an odd number, I still need to use another 1AG, which takes care of this scenario, the scenario that it's only 1A or 1G. So A, UG, and then B, UC. So if it's an odd number, wait, this is my 2 part. This is my even. So imagine it like something like 2n plus 1. That's how I write my odd number. So this part is my 2n, and this part is my 1 plus 1. That's why I only use two A or G's here. But then I added another 1 to take care of the 3, 5, 7, and moving forward. Do you all get it? Again, I will explain it again because I know it's kind of difficult to understand sometimes. Think about it as like 2n plus 1. With this parenthesis here, I take care of 2n, which is an even number. But because I need to make it an odd number, I need to take care of the plus 1. So that's why I add another A or G. Let's finish with D. So on D is let L4 be the set of exactly those strings over the alphabet A, B, C, and G, where at least one G is not followed by another G. So if I start by writing A or B or C or G, clean start. But it's not if I have G is not followed by another G, I can either have GA, GB, or GC. In between, A, B, or C, or G again. At least one G is not followed by another G. So because it's at least one, that's why I wrote GA, GB, or GC, because this makes the scenario at least one G is not followed by NG. Or I can actually have, or I can start with A or B or C or G if I want to, and just end with NG. So these are the two scenarios of this. Sorry for that again. And then we go with, lastly, with my exercise E. Let L5 be the set of exactly those strings over the alphabet A, B, C, and G, whose length is no less than 3. But the first symbol is different from the third symbol. So is no less than 3. It means that the length is 3 plus. By the way, before we end, make sure to complete the feedback form that Daniel will send in the chat. So if I start with A, that's length 1. Then I can have whatever I want. That's length 2. But my last symbol or my third symbol is, my first symbol is different from the third symbol, as it says on the question. So I cannot have A, which makes B or C or G. And then because I need to care of the plus part, I can have A and B or C or G, clean start. You do that with B, you do that with C, and you do that with G. This part is gonna be the same, this part is gonna be the same, and this part is gonna be the same. But when it comes to this part, is A, I cannot use B because that will make the third symbol B, and it's the same, so I need different. So that's why I have A and G. And this part is the same. Here I cannot use C as my third symbol, so I will either have A and B or G. And lastly, here I cannot use G as my third symbol, so I get A and B or C. So we are left with 4 minutes. We are done with the review sessions. We still didn't go over some of the questions down here. But if you have any other questions, these 3 minutes we are left, let me know. I can answer whatever you want. And make sure to complete the feedback form so we know what we can do better for next time. And I actually wish you good luck with your exam. And I'm sure if you get 60 points, you are fine. And try to make as many possible questions from the easy ones as you can, because that's why you get an A in this class. Any questions? If you have any questions, let me know now so we can answer it.
When do you think this video is going to be posted?
It depends. Like I would say by tomorrow. When is the exam?
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah, I would say by tomorrow or today, but later in the night.
Okay, thank you.
Did you guys have any ideas like how many questions are going to be on the exam?
No, it's usually, I would say 14, but for the exam that I did, the exam one had like extra 50 points credits. So don't get stressed if you see like 14 or 15 questions. You can do like 7, 8, and just get like as many points as you can. It might be 8 points, but I'm for sure she gives 8 questions, but for sure she gives like a lot of extra points. So if you score as many as you can, you pass the class with A or at least like B. And if you do well on both of the exams, you can, I think, skip the final. But I suggest you to go to the final because it's mostly material from the first exam. So please make sure to complete the feedback form. I will send it again in the chat. It is also my first time doing this tutoring, doing that exam review session. So I hope I did. You understood most of the stuff. Thank you. And good luck. You are welcome. Remember somewhere.